That's right. Alright, so weed blowing, or gardening sounds like it's partially done. Okay, so one of the things this student of mine I noticed with his punches was it's off. Okay. It seems maybe the dog did something wrong. Anyway, so one of the first things I had to do for this student of mine that came along was get this sorted out so that when the punch came out, the elbow struck at the same time. And I can tell you that that student's doing exceptionally well now. He's very, very, very good. But I get the impression from that and from what I see that a lot of people don't train at it, which kind of confuses me. But you know, people can do whatever they want. It's none of my business. But from my point of view, once the stance is good enough to hold it, because the good punches are based on a good stance to begin with, then the punch needs a good number of things going on. So one of the first things, it doesn't matter how wobbly or uncoordinated it is in terms of striking, it doesn't matter how stiff it is, because it will be stiff at first. One of the first things we need to have is that simultaneous strike with both elbow and the fist. Because if you don't have that, when a punch comes in, it's going to look something to that effect. This one, not such a bad. If I can hit him faster than he can even get it away, awesome. This one, on the other hand, is really bad because that gives him another chance to punch you in the face or wherever else. So, developmental aspect one, simultaneous through both arms, because it feeds into all of Wing Chun's simultaneous attacks and defences. I should say simultaneous attacks. We call them defences because you're stopping the punch hitting you in the head, but really that is as much an attack as that one. And my intention is to break that and that. I want to smash it. If someone hasn't trained, if it was just some yobbo that wants to beat you up, who's never done any training, against one of these guys, I guarantee that'll break an arm. Like I mentioned in another one, I've accidentally broken an arm. I can't remember exactly the technique I used, but it was one of them, a wrist rather. So these things are really attacks. There's nothing defensive about them. So if you can't land elbow and fist at the same time, then you're not going to have very good simultaneous attack and defense. That feeds then into how you're going to apply it with the junma. Are you going to go turn and whip it out there? Is your punch going to land? Well, that's not so bad, because I'll have him done before this even gets in range. This one, on the other hand, you'll sap all the extra power out of your punch. If it's completely disjointed, then you've rushed. You've jumped ahead too quick, and you need to go back and train your punches, then your junma, probably your stance before that. So the coordination of the arms is of absolutely crucial importance. Next, as I was going on earlier, if you pull your arms up, you look where he punches, it's straight pretty much from where his resting arm is. So with these punches we aim at the chest, we don't aim anywhere else, wherever. We want it going dead straight, so that one really gets the habit of putting their power. So imagine this is someone's face. His power is going directly into my punch, my hand rather. One of the things you see almost every time from people who have never done enough training of these punches, when they start doing a multiple of them, is this sort of stuff, which is really no good. I mean, I shouldn't have to explain it, but if you're punching like that, you're not going to send very well. You might get a bit, but you're not going to get much power through your target. So that, because the nature of people when one arm does something, the other arm tends to follow it. That's why if you try and draw a triangle with one finger and try and draw a circle with the other, you end up with all sorts of funky shapes. So if you haven't done enough training to ensure that your punch is going to go directly, when you start circling this one back, it'll tend to have the effect of circling the other one down. Whereas if you can disassociate that one enough, you can punch straight into the target. You're right.
Yeah.
Without inadvertently causing your punch to curve. So that's why we want it going dead straight at your own chest height, roughly, wherever your fist in the resting arm comes up at. Then there's the trajectory through the centerline. It's got to go through the centerline, and it's got to be smooth as well. Another thing we like to really avoid is this kind of stuff with the punches. Really don't like that, because you're introducing a break in your forwards force by our standard. So that, and I've seen this happen, so it's not like I'm just sort of speculating here. I've actually watched this happen, where people get in the habit of having this break, where much later on, when it comes to, say, they're here and for whatever reason they're in contact and they want to use a bomb cell, for example. It doesn't have to be bomb cell, whatever, tart cell, whatever you want. There tends to be a gap between the actual getting going into whatever they're doing and the application of the forwards force. I want it to be forwards the whole time. I don't want to have this hole. If it's a tart cell, I don't want to have to let him in and then fight him to get him back out again. Because someone who can punch properly is going to have you hit before you can recover. And I've actually seen this gap creep not only into the punches. The next really obvious spot you see, it's in the chum cue, this section of chum cue, where people go drop and then throw it, rather than as soon as the hip's moving, have the forwards force going through. And that, then it's going to feed directly into how you're going to try and use these things. So this developmental stuff has got a very big impact on what you're going to do much later on. Hence why, like I mentioned in another video, when I learnt the traditional way from my Sifu, we spent a good 8 months at least doing the punches, and that's in the Wing Chun style of Wing Chun. The punches are different, much more difficult, but we spent that long doing them because they set you up for what you're going to do much later on. Another element of the punches is the power generation. I won't go into the minutiae of it, but basically we want what's called inch force going through. For us, inch force isn't me driving away like that. It's actually quite different. You okay?
Yeah.
It's much more, I don't know what the word say would be, softer, but it hits quite hard and it pierces. It's like an echo that runs, like if you imagine, like, what's the submarine thing?
Sonar.
Like it's almost like if you imagined waves of a sonar or something going through you, and so it does feel quite different. We'll pause for now.